How's it going, everybody? This might catch you off guard, but this might be my most requested video of 2025. And it's basically a how do you enjoy war? Why does your alliance enjoy war? Why do you guys have so much fun when you're on stream doing this? And how can I get into it? Which doubles up as a top 10 war offense video. And of course, if I'm talking about war, I got to be joined by one of my war captains, Scotty. How's it going, brother?
Doing good.
Good. You ready to teach people how they too can never lose another fight?
Yeah, sure.
Right on. And if you guys do never lose another fight, make sure you like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. And you might as well do it now and then never come back. I think that'd be a good idea. All right. So let's start with how we war, because I think this is pretty important, right? Would you agree that we have a huge offensive lane, like let's say one team on defense, two sort of defensive teams on, but we use like the most watered down version of them? You think that's fair?
Yeah. More and more like we didn't start out this offensive, but we have definitely now that we're diamond and facing huge alliances because someone pulled an Iron Man 3. Not to name names.
Can you explain that? Because people don't know what that's about. What is pulling an Iron Man 3?
Dorky basically pulled an Iron Man where he told the Mandalorian where he lived and to come fight him, and the Mandalorian said, sure, and shot giant missiles at his house. And I am, what's her name? Penny? Peg?
Uh, oh God, not Peggy, not
Pepper. Pepper.
Yeah.
I'm Pepper Potts in this situation. My life has become much harder because of Dorky.
Sounds about right. Sounds about right. But now we're more offensive heavy. And I think
Yep.
a lot of our guys just let out this huge sigh of relief, like, okay, I have the right tools to get through all the teams now, right?
Yeah, I mean the downside of the offense lean is like we have to still hold their hands, I think, even more because we have to make sure they're using these offensive tools properly because some people still lose NA into Infest for some reason.
All right, listen, be nice, be nice. The number two thing we do that may be underrated, that I think is, it's going to seem like this is a crazy hardcore approach, but we have about 6 to 10 people who are on the start of war and in a voice chat and having fun. Now that seems crazy, but we've never mandated that. We've never gone to people like, hey, you have to be on at this time, whatever. People just did it once, had so much fun, and now it's, for some of them, it's their favorite time of the game. It actually is one of my favorite times of the game too, because when you're with an alliance, I hopefully you're friends with the people in your alliance, and you'll quickly find that war can be incredibly enjoyable and pretty bonding, right? In a community based game, fair enough.
Yeah, you just have to find those people. And like not everybody who has joined us has been
Yeah,
into that or into the war aspect, but I think like as time has gone on, we collected the diamonds in the rough, basically.
I don't know if
Uh,
it's that rough, man. I think when you get a taste of it, it's like 50-50. If you want to like war, you will like war when you're with a group of people that also like war or want to like
yeah.
war. It falls into place. And then number three on this list is going to be to have a kill list, which is basically like a counter list. Like, hey, everybody is responsible to clear. Just for instance, this is not very specific. An Alpha Flight, a Mephisto, an Odin, a Professor X. Like everyone has to clear at least one of those this war.
Mhm.
Otherwise, people are not going to have the right tools to clear those teams as we reach the end. That
And that was a huge hurdle to get over, if you remember when I first came
yeah,
back and I was seeing Mephisto being used on Weapon X.
it was a sure win though. It was a sure win.
It was for sure a sure win, but like getting people used to the fact that they can't just like blow Liberty on Alpha Flight and things like that. Like once they kind of got this, like I have to take a Professor X, I have to take like if there's and some of it depends on what's in each room, but generally they're like now with most of the alliances we're facing, there's a Professor X in almost every room.
Yeah.
Is there a Mephisto? That seems to be a common thing. Also, like a Mephisto to take out. Um, and just making sure people aren't blowing mercs on astrals when we actually, not on astrals, on alpha fights when we need them to take astrals or
Yeah.
help take absolute A Force team. So people are getting better at making that list, and obviously that takes a lot of people like having to be like self um
Inform
That's the word I'm looking
themselves. They
for.
got to inform
Yeah.
themselves. Yeah. All right, so there's that route. There's also, and we kind of have this route, but not really. If you have like an MVP captain that is hand holding every single attack, and it's like one at a time, that's what the top dogs do.
I
I would
mean, we
hate
have
that.
had to do that as of late. Let's be honest.
Well, I wouldn't say we do it all the way though. I'd say we're like when we were up against the Super Troopers Alliance, we were like 85% there, 100% at the end, right?
Yeah.
But we do let our guys just kind of like do their own thing because they have the right tools. And I mean, we also put in the Discord, you throw up a live counter sheet stuff that people can follow. Like, hey, this is what we've done in the war so far. People can just take a quick glance at that, and hopefully, if they can read, they can do it. Which hit or miss, but they get there.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain people that are they know enough that they can do those attacks on their own, and like our newer people who aren't used to this level of war are the ones that we have to be more like, show me your team size, because still matching OP levels is hard for some people to really grasp. Like a OP 11 Noir, you should not be taking an OP 9 Sinister 6 into, and things like that. But yeah,
Reading and math. They're not as commonplace as you would think. All right, but
numbers.
if you can do what we talked about here, we're gonna go into more detail when we talk about the teams. You two can accomplish stuff like this. The biggest punch up in Marvel Strike Force history. You might notice this alliance in orange called Porky Bads. Today they go by Super Troopers, which is what they went to before we matched them in war. And you might notice this alliance called the Dorks. And the Super Troopers Alliance is 6.6 billion TCP, and the Dorks is at 4.4 billion TCP. 2.2 billion punch up. Biggest punch in Marvel Strike Force history by following these sort of tenets. And this isn't the first time we've been part of this record, is it, Scotty? What was the last biggest punch up in Marvel Strike Force history?
That was Troopers versus Legion. Was that it?
Oh, that's right. We were part of Troopers back then, weren't we?
Once upon a time.
Yeah, it got tiring. It got really exhausting carrying that Baron guy around. I don't know how those other troopers do it, but okay. Like if let's nah, shout out to the troopers. That was a really good war, and it really was our giant offensive lean that got us there. So let's go ahead and let's break down the top 10. And for our number 10 pick, we have a bunch of options. Okay, I know. A top 10 list where the 10th pick is just like whatever, but it is kind of what it is. So if you have Out of Time built up, or Underworld, or New Avengers, or the Old Force team, which is the old A Force team, but you pair it with Wasp and Ironheart, these four teams kind of comprise of the best 10th team. Now this doesn't mean they're better than the teams that we're gonna talk about after this, but because of the new stats and because of Overpowered, it's easier to build the teams that come after this that'll also do the same job that these sort of teams are responsible for. Do you think that is a mostly fair assessment? I know we were talking about this earlier. You're like, hey, there's some times where we wish everyone had New Avengers built up because they're so good. But
Yeah. I mean, New Avengers is pretty much like we use that. Like at least you and me use our New Avengers every single war. Like there's always a good team for New Avengers, and sometimes we wish we had more than one. It's not like when people have limited resources, it's not a team to waste resources on.
yeah,
But the people that have invested in them and have some resources to put into New Avengers, that is a sick team. And obviously, the biggest concern is we might lose Thing to the Fantastic Four team.
yeah.
Part of me is almost hoping that we don't have to, and maybe the Fantastic Four can be good without him. But we'll have to see.
Well, I've been doing a lot of playtesting, and I could say they are good without him, but they're really good with him. Like it's gonna be a decision. It's gonna be a game time decision for sure, and it'll depend on what kind of defense we see. But let's move on to actual listed teams. Okay, coming in at number 9 is gonna be the Orcus team. When I got my guys to pull Orcus to the offense, it's like a light switch flicked, and all of a sudden so we were losing to like these Havoc X-Men teams or these really bottom of the barrel teams, and it's because we really needed our best weapons for their best defensive strongholds, right? And so people were
Yeah.
really trying to pinch these counter together, and pulling Orcus was kind of a little bit of a lifesaver for us. You'd agree?
Yeah, it filled the gap for the people that were missing things like NA and Old Force, because that's what you and I were using on
Yeah.
like the IX teams, the old like Forge Nightcrawler teams. Um, So like it's not so much that you and I needed Orcus, although it does help us, get 14 attacks every work because we like that.
Yeah.
But like it definitely helps smaller members like just have almost an auto win. It's not always an auto win because like with big Phoenix forces now you do have to actually like use your brain a little bit, but
Yeah.
I was resistant to it, but I am glad we did it.
Yeah. Yeah, because like I think like 90% of alliances have these guys on defense, but they don't hold on defense. They lose to
Yeah.
Illuminati. They lose to like Night Stalkers, get like two shot them. Basically any new stat team can beat them, like Mighty Avengers beats them. So they just got wasted. And so pull them
Yeah.
to offense, them being like the master key for the C tier, B minus tier defenses was really good. And let's be real. A lot of people built these guys up for Professor X. So now
Oh,
that they
yeah.
have them at overpowered, it's like it's even crazier of an advantage.
And I will throw out if you are one of the people that likes to put your weapon X on defense like I do, because people lose to it all the time, you can sub in cable for LDS,
There you go.
and they work just as well.
There you go. All right, coming in at number 8 is going to be Night Stalkers. Except I left Moon Knight off this. Why don't you talk about why I left Moon Knight off this and how we utilize our Night Stalkers?
I mean, often where we're using Night Stalkers, if it is against an Orcus, we usually weren't using Moon Knight anyway because we were using Kestrel so that you're not stuck on a stupid summon.
Yeah,
Or if you like had Kestrel on defense, like big time Spider-Man, if he had him built at all. Like I have a very tiny one, like I don't even think he has red stars on him, and he's literally there just to take the taunt off a minion and then he dies.
yeah,
But Moon Knight being there can actually be a negative because then he might get one of the flips that Blade is supposed to get and go before Blade, and then that can also make a messy situation. So I think a lot of people, like even people that are building this team now, you don't need Moon Knight for raids. You don't need him for war. It's very unfortunate because he's such a cool looking character, but
yeah.
um, he's trash.
He's trash. All right, two things to add to that. Yeah, Man Thing shouldn't be a striker. He's supposed to be a fortifier. That's my bet on the graphic. He's not supposed to be a striker. Yeah,
To say why is
yeah.
he?
That's what she's supposed to be fortified. Second thing, yeah. So the Night Stalkers being one of those new speed stat teams, like, it seems like speed stat is the new speed meta determining factor here. With them having the speed stat being that first generation of post Ares characters, Blade is so good at like one-shotting an enemy Black Knight, right? Because Black Knight is the post-Ares or pre-Ares stats. People bring Blade to Professor X, so again, you get that overpowered advantage. And all of a sudden, he's one-shotting, and it could turn a team like, let's just make a team up. Starjammers, America Chavez, and Black Knight. It makes a very scary team like that not so scary because Blade is super fast with the speed stat, annihilates a pre-taunt, and he does a rewind on the adjacent characters as well. So I really like using Night Stalkers, and it's fortunate how good these raid teams, Orcus and Night Stalkers, ended up on the offensive side.
And I mean, we also been using like the 3-piece, 4-piece for some Mephisto teams. Like
True.
they are always the team that we're like trying not to overuse and just using one per room because otherwise we will just use all of them in a room.
Completely agreed, which is the opposite story of these guys, kind of, isn't it? The Mighty
Oh, Mighty
Avengers.
Avengers.
They had to make the top 10 because they stopped speed bar generation, so they're good against a team like Orcus or like a Super Skrull team. They can get used against Absolute A Force, but I would not recommend it for people that don't know all the ins and outs of the various teams. They do get speed bar if there's 3 mystic enemies. So again, if somebody puts their Night Stalkers on defense, Mighty Avengers comes in and slaps them down, which is really cool, right? But they're due for a big fall off. Why don't you talk to us about your experience with Mighty Avengers and what we have to look forward to after the end of War season?
Like when I first came back, they were already a team, and like they, like most Mephisto teams, they just won against. There were a few that didn't work, and then everyone started learning how to make teams that they didn't work against. Like they can work against some Odin teams, like if Mephisto's there and Null's there, 3 Mystics, it can work.
Yeah.
But like most people throw them out with things like Cosmic Ghost Rider, which like if it's a big Cosmic Ghost Rider, you're basically not doing any damage until you can get him off the field, and by that time Odin is ready to just start swiping your face.
Yep.
Like Ares is a big negative for them because then they don't have their buffs.
Yep. Medusa.
Then Another issue we run into, like sometimes using them against Absolute A Force, is Medusa. I think stops the safeguard on two of them,
Yeah.
and then she can like one shot one of them. Like we have got desperate in some wars using them on Absolute A Force with Dorm, and it's just it's not something I'd recommend. And every time we do it, I cringe. But they are they have a niche and they are often the team will just like if we don't have something for Alpha Flight or like bigger teams we'll just throw them at that but like when they lose their buffs I think there's still going to be a war team that we can use on things like Accursed and stuff like
Yeah,
that
true.
but we just won't be at that point using them for sure on any Odins or Knolls or Mephistos.
Yeah. So what Scotty was just talking about there is currently this war season, Avengers are getting a 30% stat buff, and they have been, I think, for the last two war seasons, and that's kind of been the only thing keeping the mighty Avengers afloat. Especially if you don't have any of them at Gear Tier 20. When that war buff is off, you're probably going to start seeing people dump Gear Tier 20 on them if they want them to keep working. Because, like Scotty said, oof, when they miss hard. They miss really hard.
Did I gear tier 20 Falcon? Yes, but
It
I
hurt.
don't regret it. Like 4 raids, it's fun too, and like maybe that'll be needed in the future for something. Like we use them in tower. This is the another tower where
Yeah.
we're using Falcon and Herc, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It hasn't worked for me at all this tower, but sometimes.
But we've seen it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes hit or miss, but this next team, they don't miss. They actually got all the
Uh,
accuracy in the world. Vigilante coming in
yeah.
at number 6, I believe we're at right now. I love the Vigilante team. And this is yet another raid team that just really shocked people. Now, they were terrible when they first got put out, but they got some really good buffs on Silver Sable that have opened up so many doors. Why don't you talk to me about Silver Sable and the Vigilante team, and I guess Daredevil too, and how they kind of flipped war on its head? Like, they are a big part of why the offensive meta works.
Mhm. I mean, they have been useful against some Mephisto teams, which has been nice. A lot of the time, we're using them on Starjammers, but
Yep.
like Starjammers Black Knight, Starjammers Glad. The new trend is throwing Chavez in there, speeding up Starjammers so that they can still take out your Vigilante if they're smaller. Um, Somebody made me make my vigilante 4 fortifiers to go against it in war, but they
They,
still won. I mean, they're such a great team. Like,
yeah.
and we use them so much in negative zone that I feel like a lot of, like everyone knows how to use them too. They know what their moves are and how they work. It's just a fun team, great team in
Yeah.
war.
And that's a big part, right? People know how to use them. People know Silver Sable's ultimate decays all the buffs. Hit Monkey has a stun trauma, gives offense up, speed up. Daredevil has a pre-taunt safeguard. They all have immunity on spawn. Like, people are more aware of how this team functions, which leads to a lot. People make better decisions when a match goes to shit. They make better decisions with their vigilante than they do with other teams that they may not have used as much, which I think is a really big benefit to the team.
The
Which
only
will,
caution I've in is Astral Cosmic Ghost Rider. I know people love using them. Like it just we have it seems to be a 50-50 whether it works because
yeah,
Sable is anti Cosmic Ghost Rider as far as the focus issue.
yeah.
So that's the only team that I don't like using them on.
Yeah, for that match, it's like, hey, if Shadow King decides to ability block your Punisher, it's over. By the way, okay, we all know this team very well. We don't know this next team very well, and I did have to put them on this list because I've been playing with them on the playtest. Fantastic Four MC. We talked about the worry that Thing would take away from the new Avengers to join this team. This team is phenomenal. This team stopping Speed Stat, which is the new craze, including Speed Stat on Mephisto, by the way, and having really fast characters, Franklin at 131, Invisible Woman at 129. And I mean, you could talk about what Invisible Woman is doing as a solo character real quick, right?
I don't use her very many wars to be honest with you because
Okay,
like
what is our opponent's Invisible Woman doing to us?
oh yes they're putting her with Professor X and if you don't stun her ass she's killing you. She's just like wiping you off the field.
Exactly. Like Franklin, Reed, and Sue, I think they're the 6th, 5th, and fourth highest damage in the game, next to only Odin, Professor X, and maybe Null is up there as well. Like their damage stat is absolutely insane. They're getting a really crazy speed stat, at least until Franklin takes his first turn, which happens after the rest of his teammates. So like there's a lot of fast damage coming at you. They secure a lot of speed stuff, and with the new stats, they crank. They crank. They're
I
kind of
can't
go
keep
ahead.
them on defense.
Yeah. They're Night Stalkers 2.0 is what they are.
Uh,
Yeah, for what it's worth, they're Night Stalkers 2.0, which is going to be really crazy. And I can't wait to play with them. I guess next Thursday, Franklin's going to come out and people are going to experience that.
Sweet, we'll have 2 more wars without them.
There we go. Yeah, before we got to face the people that are hunting us down because of my Iron Man 3 move. Speaking of being dead, we got the Undying come in at number 4. Yeah, but a little different, right? So the Undying is obviously its strongest with all 4 members with Zombie Scarlet Witch. But we kind of like using her as a plug and play character, and that doesn't cripple the Undying team. Even the Undying 3-piece team, I still put ahead of everything else that came before this list. Why don't you talk about how the Undying team kind of is our Swiss Army knife when we're stuck and we're trying to climb through the cargo bay, and we're looking like, okay, well, how are we going to beat that team? Okay, we'll throw Undying at it for now. Take Zombie Scarlet Witch out. We could use her later for one of these teams. Let's just get through this and get going, right?
I mean, they are the team that I sometimes forget about as we're assigning things
Yeah,
because like we'll have a job for Zombie Scarlet Witch, and then we'll be looking at a team and be like, what can we use? And it's like, oh crap, we haven't used Undying at all. Like
yeah,
they could do this, and Bloody Crow will use just the 3 and not use 2 extras, but the rest of us throw in some characters to actually do something.
yeah. You know why that is though, right? You know why we always forget about them? They don't have new stats. So
Yeah, so
when we're
they're
going
like
through our
towards the
list,
bottom.
exactly,
Yeah.
even if they're built up. But yeah, this team is amazing. I love pairing them with, we got 2 different tag teams here. It could be Jean Grey and Storm. I like those 2 paired with the 3 Undying, or Phoenix and Omega Red Phoenix Force. If you need the fast characters, Jean and Storm elsewhere, then Phoenix and Omega Red Phoenix Force work really, really good here. And with speed up on spawn, and they stop the enemy from getting speed up, and there's no stunning, and there's ability block, and there's trauma and everything right out the gate. This team absolutely cranks. Basically, any like B plus team, B plus tier team, and down, Undying's got the solution to them, right?
Yeah. Like we've been with a curse now showing up on defense. Like this
Yeah.
is they're one of the things we are using because you just load up jugs and then spread to his friends.
Yep.
And if there's a revive there, you can just add another character that helps get rid of revives. Um,
Black Cat, North Star, Gore, your Ares, if you're not using Ares somewhere else, does that same job as well.
Most people have made their astral teams anti-undying. So just if you see a black cat or Kestrel Chavez, like that's an anti-Zugs and undying
Yeah.
and friends.
Even Cosmic Ghost Rider gives them a hard time because
Yeah.
they can't learn their debuffs. So yeah, they definitely do have their counters, which is why Zombie Scarlet Witch gets pulled off for this next team, Mercs Plus. Yeah, Mercs for money. This 3-piece team is crazy. So we got Panda, Old Man Logan, Dawkin. I kind of look at Zombie Scarlet Witch now as the unofficial 4th member of the team because we're always looking to use these characters against speed bar stuff. And then for
Yeah,
the
I mean,
4th, 5th, yeah, go ahead.
a big reason is because most people in our alliance don't have Underworld. So
Yes.
trying like most of them will have Taskmaster built, but not the rest of the team because like it wasn't a team to invest in as we thought Thunderbolts were going to come out and then not use Underworld ever again, and it has not been the case. But it's made it really easy for our guys because then they don't have to worry about building up Nobu and Green Goblin Classic or
Yeah,
whatever his name is.
exactly. Similar situation as with Fantastic Four and the New Avengers, right? A lot of people don't have New Avengers built up, but they can actually build up their thing now, and they get some use out of it there. So it works out pretty good. And I did put Ares in here. We have been known to use Ares against astral teams so that we can land our debuffs with the mercs right out the gate. Ares also takes revives off, so he's got a little case interest there. But we have another use for Ares. We're going to talk about not next slide, but the one after that. So let's talk about what I think is number 2. I think you could argue number 1 with some different subs. We got to talk about Liberty. Liberty, such a good team, and kind of like Night Stalkers and Orcus. So many people put Gear to 20 in these guys because they're so good in the Professor X global hero section, as they were given their war rules in that section, and no other global characters can really hang as well as they do. How do you feel about Liberty? And let's talk about the weaknesses of Liberty instead of the strengths, because their strengths are crazy, right? They got a few weaknesses.
So I love Liberty. They're obviously like one of our A teams, and
Yeah,
most people have them built up, so we actually can get them to use them.
yeah,
But a big weakness that I'm sure people have seen on stream is they don't have an anti-revive mechanic.
yeah,
So using them against like absolute A4 storms is can be an issue. Yes, I'm sure people will love to comment on this video and say how it's super easy, you just have to do it a certain way, but like there is a lot of RNG when you're punching up into like an OP11 endgame Thanos and stuff
yeah,
like that. It can go sideways very quickly. But it is like a good Odin team typically. Like we're often using this against Odins. They can sometimes work against Mephisto if you have Null on offense as well.
yeah.
Can be helpful. Null's on defense for anyone with Professor X often, so that isn't always something we get to do though.
Yeah, I agree. Basically, like for Liberty, as long as the enemy's going before you and you don't have disrupt from like Reactor, Liberty is going to
Yeah.
be an option there. And yeah, beware Reactor, because with that opening disrupt, if the enemy goes before you, let's say it's your Liberty fighting Reactor and there's a Mephisto on the enemy team, Mephisto will get those debuffs on you because the Reactor will stop you from gaining Safeguard, and Falcon doesn't clear until after Mephisto's turn. So I've actually lost the match doing that, which is why Scotty was bringing up Null there. Like if it's Reactor, you got to beat a Mephisto using Liberty, you got to slot Null in there for a little bit of safety. But yeah, essentially, as long as the character's going before you, you get that early speed up, you can kind of just run the gambit on them. And yeah, to Scotty's point about the Absolute A-Force, that last team that we was talking about, Mercs here, this is what I much, much, much prefer to use against the Absolute Dorm versions because we have the anti-revive and because we have the anti-charge on Miss Marvel Classic, and it just seems to be a little bit cleaner. And then Liberty comes in, they clean up whatever the heck else. Because yes, like Scotty said, people
With
will.
the Ares version, not with the Taskmaster version, just for
Yes,
clarification.
yes, exactly. And with that said, yes, this can beat Absolute A Force Dormammu. No, it's not easy. It's not even that it's just RNG. There is so much tactic knowledge that goes into that match with don't AoE here. Make sure you single target here. Okay, now you're going to use this ability instead of the ultimate. Like, there's a lot that goes into it that can be easily screwed up. So I don't want to hear anyone in the comments saying it's easy because you're speaking from your own viewpoint, not for the viewpoint of, most of the community that's not heavily engaged in war. But if you want to get heavily engaged in war, you need to know this next team. The number one war offense team in the game is the X team, the Professor X counter team. Now, this team is specialized to beat Professor X and all its different variants, whether it be with Nightcrawler, Sasquatch, Null, Odin, whatever the case may be. Like, this team is specialized for that, but they'll beat anything under the sun, really. Like, I don't even know what team you'd have to put together in order to beat this. Why don't you talk about this team, the different variants, and like which character you would use in which situation? Because this is a team that this is the love child of. Oh, was it questionable propriety? Questionable propriety, and then like Halcyon and you tinkered with it for all the different other metas and variants we see, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think QP didn't have Odin with it, and for a while, like the Professor X killing team didn't. We weren't using Odin. We were
Yeah,
trying like the main component was well, pretty much always Quasar,
yeah,
Songbird, APOC. But if there's like a Nightcrawler, then we use Ares.
yeah,
Sometimes Storm, Havoc. But then we kept seeing versions where sometimes like with RNG, if there's an enemy Songbird that wins the coin flip, um, we found that Odin can be um, kind of safety, but there are like it is not 100% like always wins depending on if there is like if there's a songbird on the other team, that is usually the time that it can fail if you lose the coin flip and she's really big and if we don't have like OP11s on everybody.
yeah,
Um and it like we'll often use Storm versus the Gore versions. If there's Invisible Woman, we want to use Storm because she'll be able to stun the Invisible Woman so she doesn't wipe you off the map.
yeah,
Um, Havoc is sometimes used in place of Storm. It depends on the team because there are different variants, but Odin can be a safety. Sometimes he dies. Sometimes he's literally like a meat shield, and that's okay.
I would actually argue that's his main contribution on this team because he has the highest damage. Professor X mind control attack makes all of your allies attack Odin, which means your Quasar's not going to die before he gets a turn. It means your Havoc's not going to die before he puts a stun trauma on the Professor X. Like him dying, I have not lost this match yet, knock on wood, but I have lost Odin like 60% of the time
Yeah.
before he gets to do a turn, and that's why you want him as a
Now,
striker.
an important note is when we initially started seeing Professor X Odins, the thought was, oh, we have to use a Quasar with Awakened Alt. And that is actually
Not true. Yeah.
rarely the case, because even when we have Quasars with the Awakened Alt, we're specialing with him most of the time anyway.
Yep.
So we now are not like we're not assigning that based on anything. Now most people aren't putting Odin with Professor X's anymore. Like I'm not seeing it as often because they're kind of either putting a separate separate Odin team or having Odin on offense.
Yep.
But if he is there, you don't necessarily need to have his awakened ability depending on what the comp is. Like there's lots of variations, but we're not finding that we need it.
Yeah, especially with Quasar just one-shotting Odins and people getting Quasar bigger and bigger as when his next Scourge comes out, hopefully we're all going to be walking away with a 7 red star, right? Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's it for the top 10. That's how you can never lose another fight. Use those teams we just talked about. Make sure you look at the fights that I had showing here. Sky didn't see the fights, but there's been fights playing the whole video. Make sure you check out those fights for some inspiration if you've been seeing those teams to absolutely crank those out. And hopefully we'll be seeing you guys in Diamond to face you soon because I'm already tired of beating up Super Trooper and Barons. Been there, done that. Gotta say. All right, from me and Scotty, we'll see you guys next time. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.